My name is Chad Duncan, and this is my wife Darnell Duncan, and we serve as the coordinators for the Orphan Care Ministry here at Village Bible Church. We talk about three different types of partners. We talk about the basic partner. This is someone who would be involved in sponsoring a child overseas in a global orphan care ministry like Juna Amagara, World Vision, or Compassion International. We also talk about wraparound care for families who have recently adopted. This is really providing physical support for that family, whether it's meals, mowing grass, and just coming around that family to help them in that process. Then we talk about the active partner. This would be a family that may take a more active role in orphan care, directly caring for them through safe families, where you bring in a child from a family that may be experiencing a tough crisis in their family. It may be a short-term mission trip where you go and directly care for orphans through a program like Juna Amagara. And then we also have the more long-term commitment of foster care. Then we talk about the forever partner. This would be a family who is taking in a child, making them a part of their family forever through the process of adoption.
Our faith is a faith of action. It's not just sitting on the sidelines, as we know. And so in James 1:27, it says that religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction. Visiting can be caring for, looking after. It's an active command. It's not just a suggestion. And so our desire through the Orphan Care Ministry is to encourage and be a resource for all of you to find your place of impact in orphan care. So there is no place of impact that is too small. It is a group effort. And so we want to be that resource. We want to connect our church body in all different levels. We want to be, the Orphan Care Ministry wants to empower you, wants to engage you, wants to be the information for you to help you to live out the command that God has given us.
We have more than 100 families in this church that are partnering with Juna Amagara to sponsor kids in Uganda. Through the sponsorship, families donate $35 that helps to educate these kids, to care for their physical needs, and it really just promotes a great relationship with these kids. Kate Duff has been instrumental in meeting with these kids while she goes on short-term mission trips, and she brings back information about the kids, what their interests are, what their dreams are, and it helps us to have more of a relationship with them. We know how to pray for them, and we also get to write letters to these kids that are personally delivered by people from our church. So Village is also a mission-minded church. So we've been sending short-term mission trips for the past decade to places like Uganda, to Ethiopia, China, and Tanzania, where we work directly caring for orphans. So you can be a part of these trips to go and live out James 1:27 by helping these kids. It's a great opportunity for not only for these kids, but also for you to really understand your impact in the world. And aside from short-term mission trips, we also support long-term missionaries like Lisa O'Brien and the Nichols family. It's the resources that you guys provide that allow these families to serve overseas caring for orphans.
God has also been doing a lot in the hearts of Village Bible Church families in the forever partner role in adoption. We already have currently 15 families within our church body that have adopted. 5 of those were just in the past 2 years, and we have 2 more that are beginning their process. So there's a lot of stirring in hearts, there's a lot of work that he's doing, and there's a lot of commitment that's being made to care for orphans on a level that's forever. So wrapping around adoptive families when they are in that process can look first like fundraising on the front end of it, when they're in the process. When they're in country, some of our families have to go to another country to bring their child home, and there are needs that need to happen during that time frame with a family that's still at home, with children that are still within their home. But then especially when they come home, during those connection times, there is so much support that's needed. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in that healing process, and so when our church community comes alongside them, they're all the more capable to connect with their kids.
So I hope we've inspired you today to get involved in orphan care, whether it be safe families, foster care, maybe even the step of adoption. Maybe it's just wrapping around those families who are adopting by mowing grass, by providing meals, to babysitting, carpooling, anything that would help that family. And check out the newsletter for some great stories on orphan care, but above all, get involved. So we had 4 kids. We thought our family was done, and Darnell read a book. and it inspired her to learn more about adoption, and I think she started looking into it and really just felt God's pull on her heart. And she came, talked to me about it, and I still wasn't really on board for quite a while.
Yeah.
It was probably 6 months of us praying about it before I really started feeling God kind of opening me up to adoption. So then we committed to it, and that's when...
So, I mean, we were open to any country. I mean, we were pretty open to that, but China just met a lot of the requirements that we needed to have, I guess you'd say, as far as how long we were going to be in country and how many kids we already had in our home and all that kind of stuff. So, just felt right. It just felt right. And so, it was one of those things where even when fear settles in and you think you're stepping outside the box and doing something really crazy, as soon as I would pray, or I had a friend network praying around me every day of the week, I had a different friend that prayed for me, and that just totally dissipated. I mean, I think that was the biggest thing I could ever tell somebody in that process, is to have some people praying for you. So on Monday was one person, Tuesday another, Wednesday another, and every single week, every single day I had somebody praying for me, and that walked me through that process with realizing that I wasn't going to quit on it, because I knew I clearly heard this is what God was asking us to do. So I would never quit on it, but fear loves to tell you that you're not going to be good enough at this, or it's going to be too hard, or you don't know what you're doing, or this is beyond you, and yet he dissipated that every time. And
there's definitely days where we're excited about it, but then there's other days where you're like, what are we doing? You know?
Well, especially when you see training and you freak out about what worst case scenarios.
Training definitely can be scary, because it tells you the worst of what could happen through adoption, but it prepares us, prepares us in our expectations and how to parent that child differently. So but it was about a 1.5-year process of going through home study and all the other stuff through China. And we got matched up with Claire about 6 months before we brought her home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so she's been home for 2 years and 3 months. And it's been just awesome. So she is thriving, growing.
It's one of those things where till that moment comes when she was brought to us, it honestly felt the same as when I put my biological babies on my belly the first time I saw them. It just, that instant, like, this child is mine, and never have looked back from that. You know, just amazing how the connection is made. Even when, you know, things might be difficult or hard, you still just know that they're yours, and there's no question about that. So, I don't know, I just think about our family has dramatically changed in the way that we love one another, in the connection they're made, in the way that our kids' eyes and hearts have been opened. There's so much more joy in our house with Claire around. She just, because she just naturally is a joyful, giggly little girl, and so it just brings that out in the rest of us. So when she wants to go out and play in the rain and splash in the rain, and the rest of us are thinking we need to cover our heads, it just makes you realize that there's so much more that we need to be appreciative of and thankful for and joyful about in life when you have that little 3-year-old that's full of joy herself. So, or just tears streaming down my cheeks the first time we saw her. Mm-hmm. I mean, just, you know, you see these pictures and you think she's really cute and you're anxious, but at the same time, that nervousness of going into the room when you don't know, and then all of a sudden they walked in after we did, And there's just that instant tears, instant joy, instant you just want to squeeze her and hold her, but yet at the same time you're holding back of not bombarding her. You know, you want to just, you just don't want to let her go.
Yeah.